All right, good morning. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. Let's start off this morning here with the challenge. There are no new entry triggers here this morning. If there were a new entry trigger, we couldn't trade it because none of the trades that we're in are signaling out, and we do not have the cash available for another trade, as most of it is in play right now. So let's go take a look at Under Armour, Disney, Visa. Neither are close to their stopping point or their price target, so we don't have to worry about that with them. Let's just kind of update the values here. Visa is 395 there. Disney, let's see. Disney is 417. So 395 and 417. I'll put 415. And then 395, and then Under Armour, which is down slightly here this morning. Let's see here the option, what it's doing. It's at 342. So let's come in here and adjust that to 340, and there we go. So that's where we sit right now. Challenge value about 7,500, and most of it in play right now. And let's see, yeah, just not much cash here to do much with. None of the trades are at their time stop. Disney will come on to its time stop tomorrow afternoon, but that's the red time stop. So if the trade is red, we'll back on out of that tomorrow afternoon. Currently, it sits in the green, so if it didn't move between now and then, we would definitely hold it over the weekend as the auto exits for the green trades or trades that are that are working. All of those are next week here. Okay. All right, so that's where the challenge is. I mean, when we even look at the charts on them, just any of them, just no real change in them. Yeah. Okay. Under Armour's down a little bit here this morning. After the last 3 days, it's probably deserves a small break. Disney here is been just kind of dancing here at this 136 level all morning. It was upgraded this morning, not upgraded, but price target changed by Citigroup. They changed the price target on Disney from like 132 to 160. Reiterated their buy rating, so nothing really earth-shattering or brand new there for it. And then Visa's just kind of been dancing just like Disney this morning. Slightly green, slightly red, but no real dynamic change here with it, here this morning. The market's a little bit on pause right now. U.S. Mexico trade talks. We have the jobs report tomorrow. We have the ECB this morning, who basically said they're gonna, have rates on pause for another very long while. A few upgrades, a few downgrades out there, but not a lot for the market to sink its teeth into here this morning. And we'll kind of see what happens as far as U.S. Mexico trade talks. We will get more talk of that here today. We saw last night, in fact, here you can see S&P futures gap on down because during that kind of window between 5:30 Eastern and 6 o'clock Eastern, when S&P futures close, for that kind of 30 minutes. This is when we saw NBC report that there were no deal made between the U.S. and Mexico. So we saw futures fall off, and they recovered an hour or two later, and plowed on higher here. U.S. President Trump tweeted a few things, but he's in the U.K. with most of his immigration staff. I'm not sure how much of I know the media is expecting resolution today. I'm not sure the market is. And I think there's a pretty interesting disconnect between the market and the media on this whole U.S.-Mexico thing. But it's just one of those things where is it gonna create a major wave in the market? Probably not. Minor ripples, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and that's what we see here with it. If you've shorted the market on Mexican trade, U.S. Mexican trade news, it's not been a fun time. It's not been a fun time as the shorts have basically gotten clobbered on all of the news there with it. But we are seeing the EWW pull back today. The Mexican ETF, is pulling back sizably today. Here on that, you kind of see what it's done over the last little while. Let me pull it up here. But the EWW here, kind of had that news last week. It gapped on down. It's been rallying back. And today, getting a secondary sell leg come in here to it. All right. As far as, stocks that are affected or trades that are affected by, U.S. Mexico, there's a lot of talk about that out there. There's nothing that I look at and go, wow, this is, kind of a no-brainer situation. Let's go buy this or let's go sell this based on, U.S. Mexico trade talks. I think it's kind of more of a market type element. Yeah, certain companies have a little more exposure to Mexico or would get dinged by the tariffs, over others. There's, a lot of humanitarian issues, that are kind of wrapped up in this. But it's not something that I look at and I go, wow, okay, you know what? There's a really good trade right here with it. I guess if I dug a little bit further, maybe I could find something that was comfortable there with that. But just really, really haven't seen anything that I just really like. Perhaps Kansas City Southern. If you're looking to play a breakdown in talks, we could see KSU get dinged, pretty hard here. But anyway, I don't have a trade on the board for, U.S.-Mexican trade talks. We do have the jobs report coming in here tomorrow, which, we always see the market, move on that. Does it make major moves? No. Some argue yes, some argue no. Ultimately, the data suggests that jobs reports create ripples, not waves. But anyway, lots of things to cause ripples in the market right now, and that's not going away. That's been what the market is. It's what the market is now, and it's what the market is going to be, here for the rest of the summer. And we'll get into kind of the earnings season a little bit later on this summer. A lot of times we see the market make a leg higher during the summer earnings season, as the summer tends to get a few more ripples, a few heightened fears, and then the earnings season tends to come in. And whether it's, positive, negative, whatever, it adds an element of certainty to the market. So we tend to see it get bought up over the years. Again, not every year, not always, but that is the tendency that we have seen over time here. Okay. All right. Yesterday I didn't show the 3-7 crossovers. My apologies. So let's go out and take a look at the 3-7 crossovers here this morning. Now, none of these are triggering bullish here for the challenge. So there are no new challenge triggers here this morning. But, just the stocks on the challenge watch list that has some 3-7 crossover action. Chipotle, J&J, Microsoft, AT&T, Verizon. Chipotle had some pretty positive analyst commentary on it this morning. Just talking about, hey, the worst is already priced in. The worst is over. This is a nice pullback to buy. And so, it definitely a positive there from the analyst. But has not triggered here on the algorithm, even though, we do have the 3-7 crossover here with it. You can see the slow stow, 39.1 is still below 50. Not that it can't trigger with it right here. We saw Under Armour trigger with the stochastics about this area. But it's not a trigger here today. We see Verizon with a 3-7 crossover, kind of similar chart to Chipotle in terms of where the stochastics 39.1 is. AT&T, bouncing back nicely here after that, kind of ridiculous sell-off that it had. And, again, where I stand with AT&T and my thoughts there on AT&T. And, it from an investment standpoint. And then Microsoft, which, from one of the techs that's starting to see some 3-7 crossover action. It's actually pushing above 50 on the stochastics 39.1. Interesting. But is not triggering bullish here. The consolidation risk on it is rather high right now, which I was kind of surprised to see this morning. But it is what it is. There. With it, you look at things like Netflix. It had a 3.7 crossover on it. This week it's just kind of holding, pausing here for a little bit. We see things like Facebook, which got hit pretty hard earlier this week. Snapping back a little, but nowhere near where it started the week, and that's kind of a common theme when we look at the Amazons and the Facebooks and the ones that could possibly be affected by antitrust. The one exception's Apple, who had their developer conference, and that has provided a spark for a little bit of bounce here with the stock this week. Okay, but in all, just not a lot of change this morning. It's not a morning of change. It's not a morning where you go, wow, this stock was bearish and now it's bullish, or this stock was bullish, now it's bearish, or this stock's now breaking out. There are a few of those here and there, but en masse, it is just not a story of change here this morning. In the markets, it's kind of just a story of, hey, you know what? Pause, rest, and if we come in and we just look at the volumes here. So let's come back and take a look at the last few days, and we'll just take a look at the volumes this morning. You'll see the overall volumes this morning have been lighter than any other morning that we have seen since Thursday. And so, we have to go back to last Thursday to see volumes this light here early on. Now, obviously, that could change, and I do expect it to change. As I mentioned in my note, I expect there to be some chop here today, perhaps some hefty chop here today with some of the speculation and some of the worries and concerns that are out there. But it has been one where let's face it. The dip buyers have been paid off, and the short sellers on some of the U.S.-Mexico news, have been burned, and not just a little bit, but burned really, really hard here. So I don't think we're going to see them want to step in too aggressively unless there's something firm, concrete, where U.S.-Mexican officials completely walk away from each other in kind of the way that U.S.-China did. I think that's what we'll need to see for the market to kind of change its stripes and sell off another leg. But right now it does look like U.S. and Mexican officials, even if they don't get a deal today, are in it to make something happen. And I would be very surprised if ultimately something doesn't happen, as both parties, U.S. and Mexico, have high incentive here to get something, something on the table, something done, and something wrapped up and taken care of. But will it happen today? You know how immediate the market is, and man, it wants it now. And if it doesn't happen now, then it's gonna temper tantrum for a few hours and then go, oh wait, that was dumb. And we could see that. We definitely could see that come in here today. And I think that's the big risk factor. But again, as I've talked about for the last several weeks, we know what the market environment is, and it's not going to shift dramatically or change. We did see this week, the bearish metrics turned bullish, so we have that shift. But in terms of the cross currents that are out there, the risk factors that are out there, those are known. They're known variables, right? We don't know how they're all going to play out, but the variables that exist are very well known, and we don't have new variables, coming into the market that the market has to price in. Thanks for hopping on. Have yourselves a fantastic day, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.